Hey, it's Pink Buddha, and you probably already have heard that Akai is releasing new firmware for the MPC 2.11. It's got some cool new features, but honestly, not all that game-changing, unless you look at it from a different perspective, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So yeah, 2.11, it's got some new features that I think are pretty cool, but let me tell you why I think they're particularly significant. But before I do so, let's take a moment to go back in time. So the MPC was first created by Roger Linn in 1988. Yeah, 1988. That's way back when a gallon of gas cost only 83 cents. And this song of Rick's was barely just a year old. And then we got the MPC 60. I mean, just look at this thing. It's basically the same 16 pads, some buttons, a control knob, and a screen. And then even the back is pretty much the same. You got all these inputs and outputs, although, oh my God, there's a crap load of MIDI ports on this thing. And now fast forward to 2022, 34 years later, it basically looks the same. 16 pads, buttons, a control knob, and a screen. Still true to the original vision of chopping up samples and playing them on these pads. Oh, speaking of which, you might not know that I have a whole other channel dedicated to reviews of sample packs, so if you like that kind of content, use the link in the description or the comments below. Go check it out and consider subscribing there. Okay, so since the hardware has barely changed over the last 34 years, the improvements at this point are mostly internal. So with that in mind, let's look at this new firmware update from that perspective. And the first one I want to look at is the new ability to establish key ranges. And let's go back in time again to put this one in perspective. In 2017, the MPC Live came out. I bought it in 2018. And I was trying to use an external keyboard with it, but basically it would only play whatever track you happen to be on, which was super annoying because I wanted the pads to be samples and then I wanted the keyboard to go to a different track to play a different sound. But you couldn't do that. But in 2020 or 2021, sorry, I can't remember exactly when, they came out with an update that allowed you to map an external keyboard to a specific track. And now in 2022, this new update, you can map key ranges. So you can map tracks or sounds wherever you want across a keyboard range. And so here's why this is important, because by itself, this isn't that big of an improvement, but when you put it in perspective, you can see how they are just continually improving this. Same thing if we talk about the new plugins, and in this update, there are only 2. And if we look back in time like we did before, in 2012, InMusic, Akai's parent company, buys Air Music Tech. But it's not until 2020 we start to see some massive improvements here. The drum synth is one of them, which came out in release number 2.9. 2.10 though was like an explosion of different plugins and virtual synths and all that kind of stuff that came from Air Music Tech. I mean, these virtual synths were just amazing. I already did a full walkthrough of the Odyssey, playing through all the different presets and my favorite ones on that. I'm actually doing the Selena one right now. That'll be out next week. And so yeah, we have new plugins here in 2.11. And while they are rather minor additions compared to the last update, you can still see the trajectory of where things are going. And the other thing I want to mention in this new update is the workflow improvements, just simply that you can go in and start to customize where you want the menus to be. I mean, that's kind of a really nice feature to start to move it into a place where it's personal for you. So again, the so what for this particular update is not in the individual parts, but more in the whole where Akai is going. And I think it should give you a lot of confidence to see that they are on a trajectory for making some major improvements, which is encouraging to me when there are certain things, like the fact that you still can't change around the order of plugins in your effects chain.
What?
Oh.
Seriously?
But I have faith in where Akai is going with all of this stuff. So that's a wrap for this video. Let me know in the comments below what you think of these particular updates or anything that I mentioned here in this video. See you on the next one.